The Haunting of Goatman's Bridge. I've always been a skeptic, the kind of person who rolls their eyes at ghost stories and laughs at the idea of urban legends. But that night on Old Alton Bridge in Denton, Texas, known to locals as Goatman's Bridge, everything I believed was turned upside down. It started with Sarah. She had an obsession with the paranormal that bordered on unhealthy. Ghost hunting, Ouija boards, urban legends, you name it, she was into it. For years, she'd been pestering me to visit this so-called haunted bridge. I finally gave in, one humid summer evening. I told myself it was just to humor her, but part of me wanted to prove once and for all that all these ghost stories were nonsense. The legend of Goatman's Bridge is a chilling one. Back in the 1930s, a black goat farmer named Oscar Washburn lived near the bridge. His business thrived, and that didn't sit well with the local racists. They accused him of witchcraft, dragged him to the bridge one night, and lynched him. But when they looked down, his body was gone. Ever since, people have reported sightings of a vengeful spirit, half man, half goat, haunting the area. "It's just a story," I said, shrugging as we drove toward the bridge. Sarah smirked, her eyes gleaming in the dim light. "You'll see." We arrived just after midnight. The air was heavy with moisture, and a thick fog rolled in, swirling around the bridge like something out of a horror movie. The bridge itself was old and rusting, the wooden planks creaking under our weight as we stepped onto it. Surrounding us were dense woods, their shadows deepened by the faint glow of our flashlights. "Let's call him," Sarah whispered, a mischievous grin on her face. I laughed, though it came out shaky. "Go ahead, this'll be good." We stood in the middle of the bridge, the fog muffling the usual nighttime sounds. Sarah cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, "Goatman, we're here. Show yourself." At first, nothing happened. I was ready to crack a joke when I realized something was off. The woods were silent. No chirping crickets, no rustling leaves. Just an oppressive, unnatural quiet. Then we heard it. A deep, guttural growl that sent shivers down my spine. It came from the trees, low and menacing, like an animal warning us to stay away. I froze, the flashlight shaking in my hand. "Probably just a coyote," I muttered, though I didn't believe it. The growl came again, closer this time, reverberating through the thick fog. Sarah grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "Maybe this wasn't such a good idea," she whispered, her bravado gone. We turned toward the woods, and that's when we saw them, two glowing red eyes staring back at us. My skepticism didn't matter anymore. Whatever was out there wasn't human. "Did you see that?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling as she clung to my arm. I tried to steady my breathing, forcing a laugh that sounded hollow even to me. Probably just a raccoon or something. But the words felt absurd, even as I said them. The growl came again, low and guttural, cutting through the dense fog like a warning. My flashlight shook as I aimed it toward the woods, and that's when I saw them again. Those glowing red eyes, unblinking and fixed on us. They were too high off the ground to belong to any animal I could think of. "Okay, very funny," I said, turning to Sarah. "You're really committed to this bit, huh?" But she wasn't smiling. Her face was pale, her lips parted slightly as if she couldn't even muster a response. That's when it hit me. This wasn't some elaborate prank. Whatever was out there was real. The eyes moved closer, gliding through the fog like a predator stalking its prey. My mind raced, trying to rationalize what I was seeing, but nothing made sense. Then the figure emerged from the shadows, and every fiber of my being screamed to run. It was tall, impossibly so, its head shaped like a goat's, with massive curling horns that seemed to stretch into the night sky. Its body was vaguely humanoid but covered in thick, matted fur, and the stench of decay clung to the air around it. The glow from its eyes wasn't a reflection. It was as if they burned with an inner fire. What is that?" I stammered, my feet rooted to the ground. Sarah didn't answer. She was frozen, staring at the creature as it stepped onto the bridge. The wooden planks groaned under its weight, and the clattering sound of its hooves echoed in the silence. The creature tilted its head, studying us with an almost curious intensity, like we were something new to it. My mind screamed at me to move, but my legs felt like lead. Every instinct I had was paralyzed by fear. "Run," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. But I couldn't. I was locked in place, my eyes fixed on the beast as it took another step closer. Then it opened its mouth, and an ear-piercing scream erupted from it, a sound that wasn't entirely human or animal, but some horrifying blend of both. It reverberated through my chest, and I felt as though the sound itself was trying to rip me apart from the inside. Sarah's grip on my arm tightened, and suddenly she yanked me backward, breaking the trance. "Run!" she shouted this time, louder, desperate. Somehow my legs began to move. We stumbled off the bridge and onto the dirt path, our flashlights bobbing wildly as we sprinted toward the car. Behind us, the sound of hooves pounding against the wooden planks grew louder. I didn't dare look back.